Mega Maniacs. This is Mr. Mega Man fan, maybe Mr. Mana fan today because I've got the collection of Mana for Nintendo Switch for the first time ever. All three of the seminal Mana games in one place on one compilation. And most importantly, Trials of Mana, which has never been localized in English before this compilation. Now, it's been out digitally for some time, but I'm a retro gamer. I like physical, hard copies of games, so you knew I was going to pre order this and get it. Was slightly disappointed when I opened it to see there isn't really much of anything inside other than a warranty card, reversible artwork, and of course, the physical Switch game itself. But I'm still happy to have a physical copy of Collections of Mana. I thought it was worth the wait rather than buying the digital version. And of course, because I waited, it has an update patch that has been added to the game, but I don't think 1 minute is that bad to download an update. God, with some of the PS3 games and Xbox 360 games that I bought lately, you download the updates, you're sitting there for 10, 15 minutes while it downloads patch after patch after patch after patch. So anything that only takes 1 minute is certainly not anything that I'm going to groan, gripe, grumble, and complain too much about. Unless, of course, they just sold a completely blank cartridge and didn't put anything on it, and you were downloading the entire thing when you put it into your Switch. That's not beneath some developers these days. There's a Tony Hawk game that's pretty infamous for that, where they only put the demo level on the disc itself, and the entire game had to be downloaded as a patch. So if that server ever goes offline, that version of Tony Hawk is going to be absolutely worthless. Anyway, we've got three Mana games. One that almost everybody knows because it was on Super Nintendo. Trials of Mana was only in Japan until now. And Final Fantasy Adventure was the first Mana game in Japan. But because Final Fantasy was a bigger, more recognizable brand here, Square rebranded it as Final Fantasy Adventure so that they could sell more copies. Pretty cynical move, but once you see the opening scroll as you start a new game, it's pretty clear that it's a Mana game. The tree of Mana grows with the energy and will from each and everything of this world. It grows high, above the clouds, like Inspector Deck and Guru. Well, anyway, I'm going to quick save this, and then we'll move on to the second game, which was also famous for the fact that three people could play it simultaneously with a multi-tap. So it was a very unique Super Nintendo game, and something that people complained about quite frequently when it was added to the Super NES Mini was the fact that there were only two controller ports, but it was a three-player game, and there was no way to support that. But I think ultimately some clever and entrepreneurial people have hacked their way around that limitation and figured out how to put three controllers on a Super Nintendo classic. Because, quite frankly, those things have been hacked to death anyway. I mean, people are loading their own games, loading their own emulators, loading everything. Now, with those systems, I prefer to keep them the way Nintendo sold them. I'm not above hacking. I'm not this huge moralist sitting on this pile saying, no, you shouldn't emulate anything. No, you shouldn't use your products the way you want them to, blah, blah, blah. It's just, I have other ways to emulate things. I have other ways to play things, so I don't really need to mod those to suit those purposes. You know what I mean? To me, I would rather just preserve them the way that they are. And I will say this much as far as Trials of Mana goes, since we're already on this subject. If you're somebody that really wanted this game ever since it came out in Japan, and you just downloaded the ROM, well, I kind of think if you love it that much, maybe you should spend a little money to buy this collection. I don't care if it's physical or digital, but if you were pining for it for 20 years and you can't pony up the money now, I guess in fairness I will say demo it, try it out, and then make your decision. But I feel like you could give Square Enix your money for Trials of Mana. I don't think you're really doing anything that is fair in that case if you're if you're saying you want the game so bad and then you're not willing to pony up when they finally localize it for English language for this territory, I think at that point it's put up or shut up. I'd feel the exact same way when it comes to Mega Man The Wily Wars, because not only is it coming to the Genesis Mini, which I'm buying, but they're also doing a reproduction of it through Retrobit Gaming. So I'm one of those people who's quite willing to pony up, because I already did to buy a PAL version of it, so I'd do it again to buy an NTSC English version of it and have the actual game that we should have gotten in North America in an authorized, localized, Capcom approved and endorsed full physical box that's also apparently going to come with some goodies, some collectible figures and whatnot. Speaking of which, they also just announced a Rockman / Mega Man ZX collection, Mega Man 0 / ZX, I should say. And that looks to be pretty sweet as well, coming to PS4 and Switch in January 2020. So, something for all of us Megamaniacs to look forward to. But in the meantime, Collection of Mana is something that can get us through those times and give us something to do, especially with Trials of Mana, which, other than like English language patches, has never existed in this particular way. And I'm going to assume this is like the best possible version that you will ever get or ever see. So, again, in my opinion, support it when you can. Demo it if you have to first. But if you've been wanting this game for 20 plus years, this is your collection, digital or physical. Get it. I'm Mr. Mega Man Fan, and as always, thanks for watching.